Okay.
Hey, thanks everybody for joining us today on Live Music Nation podcast. I'm your host, Jake Gill. Today we're with Ethan Angel from the Pike County Fair. Ethan, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Hey, Ethan, give us a little background on you. Where did you grow up? Talk a little bit about your career and your work with the county fair.
I grew up around Glenwood in Southwest Arkansas. Uh, Growing up, I was really proactive in, the National FFA organization in high school, and that's kind of what led me to getting involved in our county fair. By the time I was 19, I actually is when I got on our fair board, which kind of led me into all of this. Went to college, majored in wildlife biology and natural resource management and conservation. Ended up working as a biologist technician, and then moved on to my career in law enforcement with the Arkansas Game and Fish Commission. And now I'm here. So
very, very cool. Very cool. That early interest with FFA, was that more on the judging side and that type, or was it more on the actual production side of livestock?
I did it all. I mean, growing up, I did grow up in like an agriculturally involved family, involved in the timber industry.
Okay.
Which kind of gets looked past a lot,
Yep.
agriculture. But still really involved. When I was in high school, I showed a lot of livestock. I didn't do much judging, but I was involved in all aspects of FFA as far as judging, doing career development events, leadership development events. Whenever I was a senior in high school, I was a state officer, so I traveled all over the country doing leadership workshops. I got to go to a couple different conferences that were neat in Washington, D.C., and even all the way to South Africa. So, I was really involved and pretty much took advantage of every opportunity I could through the National FFA organization.
Yeah, excellent. What is, if somebody walked on the campus during County Fair Week, what are they going to see? What are they going to smell? What are they going to hear? What's that environment like? What do you guys have?
Like at our fair in particular?
Mm-hmm.
So Pike County, it's not a great big county. Our county seat is Murfreesboro, and we got Murfreesboro and Glenwood. So roughly two communities, about 3,000 in population size. So not great big. Our county fair, we try to have it all going on at once. We've got the fair, the actual carnival going on. We're big with our EHC building, our home ec stuff. And then we've got our barns where we keep, our pigs and goats and lambs and cows all separated. But that's always a big hit where you see people coming into our fair to look at our livestock, because I feel like we produce a lot of really good livestock in the southwestern portion of the state. Something about being here close to Oklahoma and Texas gives us a lot of competitiveness, I guess. People outsourcing, because you don't really think of Southwest Arkansas as being the epitome of livestock.
Right.
But I think this area is definitely kind of making a name for itself as, hey, we don't have the the resources like Oklahoma and Texas does, but we're still going to compete and we're going to be competitive. I think you see that down here.
Yeah, no, for sure. Absolutely. So looking back over your childhood and then currently now on the fair board, Ethan, what are some moments that you can reflect back on that kind of keep that drive alive in you, even when the days and the nights get really long and the work is tedious and it doesn't pay at all? What are some of those moments and those memories that you have that really drive you to keep going?
So something that, I knew from the start, you don't see a lot of people from my generation involved on fair boards.
Right.
I mean, it doesn't really happen. And I knew from my involvement in FFA and even being around the fair and growing up in a small community, all that kind of combined together, that's what we're losing in small town America, that involvement and camaraderie with our youth and my generation. We're not being involved to keep those communities together. So that was my driving force in trying to stay involved, is almost try to serve as an example that, hey, this generation isn't all bad. We've got something to show, and we've got some really talented youth. And I know they're not all involved in stuff like this, but I want to be.
Sure.
to try to at least give some hope and revitalize and rejuvenate, what was going on with the Pike County Fair Board before I got on it. And I think I have seen a difference, and throughout the three years that I've been on it, um, I've been able to see, actually, I guess 4, almost 5 now, see it grow in ways, that I never really would have imagined. So when I started at 19, I became pretty involved and was trying to push us in directions of, taking advantage of technology and moving more in that direction just to keep up, because
Sure.
I think you can see that with a lot of stuff like this. That's why we're losing our youth, because we're not keeping up with the youth,
Right.
and staying connected with them.
Yeah.
So I looked at that, and by the time I was 20, I ended up as president of the fair board. Somehow, some way, we had a lot of turnover, and
Sure.
I was kind of left standing there with the rest of the fair board that was left, wondering, what do we do? What do we do from here? Because I'm sure, like a lot of fair boards across the country, we're sitting here scratching our heads looking for money and funding and stuff like that.
Yep.
And thankfully, we worked through all those things and was able to create something that's now on an uphill climb. And then, of course, the thing with my age, being younger and trying to stay involved, it is hard, going to college, starting a new career, moving off. Thank goodness I was able to find somebody to kind of filter into that spot of president. And his name's Cody Como. He took over our fair as the director, fair board president, however you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
And phenomenal. And I wish you could talk to him, because he's kind of living up to a legacy that his dad set for him.
Sure.
His dad was president of our fair board for nearly 30 years, built it, created it, and, just created that legacy for him to live up to. And that's kind of what I wanted him to do, is become involved in our fair board so that he could fill in that gap that his dad left us with.
Yep.
And I just didn't have those connections and
so
ties.
What are some of the ways that you guys are implementing things that will bring that younger generation not only onto the fair board, but also involving the community and that younger generation at your fair?
See that, and that's one thing that we're still, I'm not going to say that we've even got there or accomplished it yet.
Mm-hmm.
That's something. I think the first step in stuff like this is recognizing that that's the problem. That's where our downfall lies. New, like, I think with younger generations, new is what captures them and brings them in. So our biggest thing has always been our rodeo, because that's where we always got our greatest revenue. That seems to bring in the widest demographic of people as a rodeo. So that's what we wanted to really build upon. We ended up with a new rodeo director. His name's Kent Gilmore. And you talk about somebody that has drive to get something done and really change stuff up. We had this. We're working at the Pike County Fair and Rodeo. We're working with an old rundown fairgrounds, but we're trying to make the most of it, to say. And I think a lot of fair boards are in that same situation. So we started with our rodeo. You're talking about an old rundown rodeo. We may have had, 500-600 people attend in a weekend.
You still got chicken wire around, or you got actual metal?
We've got panels, but it's all open. It's all wooden bleachers. We actually had wooden bucking chutes up until last year.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it's pretty retro. But I mean, in 1 year, for us to be able to, we boosted our payouts to nearly $5,000 an event in 1 year. Over 60 grand in payouts in one event, for one rodeo. For a small town like us, that was a pretty substantial increase.
Right.
And through that, we were able to just, push ourselves in different directions. We started bringing in outside vendors and live music, the big TV stands you put up in the background, all the way from contracting people to drop into the arena with the American flag via parachute, just trying to turn it into more of a production, because, that production is what excites people.
Right.
If you don't excite people and they don't feel like they're getting what they're paying for, you're going to lose them, especially youth.
Yeah.
So stuff like that, we're just trying to expand it and push it. We're working towards one day, hopefully soon, attempting to build new fairgrounds, new buildings, tear down some of these old ones. I think that'll help.
Oh, for sure.
But that's a constant battle. I think a lot of people don't recognize that they're fighting, especially on these fair boards.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good logic. All right, a couple of fun questions to close this out, because I am in entertainment. I am in live music. Whether you have music at your fair or not doesn't matter. All I want to know, Ethan, is what is the best concert you've ever seen your entire life?
Oh man, I don't know. Well, I hadn't been to a whole lot, but I would say I went to one at Billy Bob's down at the Fort Worth Stockyards, and we saw Turnpike Troubadours, which I never really thought much of until we saw them in concert. But they actually had
and they're back on the road, which is nice. Yeah. Very
so they were great. There's a couple guys, like I wish I could have seen like Dwight Yoakam in his prime or somebody like that.
But. Sure. Okay, dead or alive, you can bring any one act to the Pike County Fair. Money's not an issue. Dead or alive, who you bring in for your crowd?
Just for heck, I'd either bring Credence or Dwight Yoakam. It's one of the two. I mean, that's my genre.
There you go. I think both of those would be fantastic. Ethan, how do people find out more about the Pike County Fair? Do you guys have a website, Facebook? How's the best way?
Yeah, Facebook's our best way. We do have a website, but people can keep up with us on the Pike County Fair and Rodeo Association Facebook page. That's the easiest way to stay involved, because we're pretty proactive on trying to be on there and go live on events and stuff like that.
Very cool. Very cool. Ethan Angel, thank you for what you do for your community and your fair, and hopefully we'll see you soon.
Yeah, thank you.
You betcha.
Well, baby, I'm on it with a bottle